the YouTubes. So, this is the second time making an intro for this video. I need a break from all the projects. Because as you guys know, I have a lot of projects. And there's projects I'm working on off camera that you guys haven't seen down here in the RC room. So, as I told you in the last video, I got into a new section of the RC hobby. And I kind of want to share my experience with it with you guys. And that is with the boats. You know, the boats. And I just want to share that experience of, it's not my first time running the boats, but this video is the first of me running a couple of the boats. And I want to get that on camera. And I'm just going to show you guys the running footage of the boat. And then we're going to cut back here. You guys are going to see me talking about it. Because I was trying a different format before that. And as I was watching things, I hated it. So we're switching it up a little bit. So yeah, I'm just going to show you guys the boat driving. We'll cut back here. I'll talk to you about the boat. Tell you what my thoughts were driving it. And then we'll cut to the next boat. We're just going to kind of hop back and forth. I feel like that gives you guys a little bit of something to enjoy besides me going blah, 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 blah for, you know, a half hour after I run each boat. After I show you me running all the boats. So, yeah. But let's get to that. First boat coming up now. Alright, boys and girls, so the first boat we're going to go ahead and talk about is this big old girl right here. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Ignore the clutter. I have been working non-stop on stuff. I did not feel like cleaning a bunch before this, and I just wanted to kind of make a video. So, workbench is a little dirty at the moment. But yeah, anyway, we're going to talk about this girl. This is the Pro Boat Miss Geico 36. As you can see, it's got Geico and big old letterings all over it. And Miss Geico and a picture of Miss Geico. This is based off of a real boat, like design-wise, graphics-wise. Obviously, it was the Miss Geico racing boat that Geico sponsored, and the graphics are interesting, which is honestly part of the reason why I like it, because it is such a goofy graphic on this thing to take up such a big section of boat width. I like it. It makes it cool. But as you can tell by the back of it here, I think you can. Let me make sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. This thing has got some pretty beefy outdriving equipment. I mean, it is dual props. They are metal props at that. Unlike you will notice on a lot of these other boats, they don't have metal props. Some very beefy steering equipment. This is a 36-inch hull, so this is not a small boat by any means. And then when you pop this canopy off, and I'm just going to throw this out there, if you're a boat guy watching this, I'm sorry I don't know all the wording. I am still new to this. I'm still trying to learn. Feel free to correct me on anything. So, this is a fiberglass hulled boat. It seems very durable. Now, when you get inside of this thing, this is where things get complicated. Let me bring you in. So once you get underneath the canopy here, it's got one steering servo, which isn't bad. It's your basic Spectrum S605. The remote on this was changed out with another one. It's honestly probably got a fancier receiver in it now than it did stock. So we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about are these dual 1900 kV full 4-pole, just monstrous motors that are in this thing with 6S capable speed controls. 6S individual capable speed controls. The video you guys watched me run it in, I was only running it on 4S. I didn't have this connector in it, and I didn't have dual 3S batteries in it. I had dual 4S batteries just running the individual speed controls instead of through this, which would have made it 8S and would have burnt things up. I put this back in here so I didn't lose it. But this comes with it, so you can run, theoretically, if you have the right set of adapters, according to the A-Main website, you could run 2 to 6S on this. And you could either run dual 2S batteries, dual 3S, dual 4S, dual 6S, or you could run 2 or 3S batteries in series with this and run those as 4 or 6S. Or if you had an adapter to make these 2 into 1, you could theoretically run single packs in this. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's enough power. The dual 4S I had running in it seemed like it gave me really good runtime and gave me really good power. Frankly, I don't know if I'd want to run this thing on 6S. It was intense on 4S. Like, to clarify by what I mean intense is this thing came out of the water. It ended up about 3.5 to 4 foot out of the water and ended up upside down when it was all said and done. Because I caught a wave just right, and the moment the air went underneath of it, because at that point, this thing was skimming across the water. I don't think anything back past, anything forward of here was even in the water most of that run. This thing was probably doing 45, 50 across the water at that point. It was moving. And my understanding is on 6S at full tilt, I think they said they claimed to do, 60 to 70 mile an hour. I believe it. So I think on 4S it's rated for like 40 to 50. So this thing was getting it. And as you guys are going to see in the videos, realistically, the videos do it zero justice for how fast it's going. It moves out, and it moves out fast. but that's to be expected when you've got that much horsepower under the hood. You've got some very nasty props out back. It is a big boat. I will say, and this isn't just a judgment against this boat, I have learned so far, thanks to today, really, I think I enjoy V-bottom boats and V-hull boats more than these catamarans, per se. These things are incredibly stable going across the water, but it seems like that stability comes at the cost of being able to turn well at speed. So, and that's not to say this turns poorly. It just, as you guys will see in video footage, it does not turn as well as the V-bottom boats do. And neither does my Blackjack 24 that you guys have seen a little bit of already. They're just so wide, and they don't have much leeway side to side, that they don't turn as well because they don't lean. I would almost realistically say it's like watching a car turn versus watching a motorcycle turn. Like making a sharp turn. Like it is, like, while it can turn well, it can't turn as sharp. And it's, that being said, it doesn't need to, because this thing, I could come to a complete stop while turning, make the turn, and gas it back up, and pretty much still outrun every boat that I own. When they just launch from a straight line and never slow down, this thing would still catch them and walk away. But yeah, this thing is, I very much like this boat, and I'm very appreciative of my buddy that sold it to me. Looks like I need to find some touch-up paint for it, though, to touch up some spots. But yeah, it is a very mean boat. You guys will definitely see me running it some more as I get more comfortable with it. Because like I said, today was the first time I drove this boat. I gotta thank my buddy Seth for hooking me up with it. Because it is every bit as angry as he made it out to be, and I love it. Yeah. Alright. Enough rambling. Oh, you guys are going to notice pretty much every boat that I have is made by a company called Proboat. I know there are a few other brands. Traxxas makes a few boats. I know there's some other brands that guys use. But Proboat seems to be the most mainstream and the easiest to get parts for and the easiest to modify. So it's like, you get my point. Proboat is a good brand to start with. Did I forget my pop out there? Okay. You need to go dry off and get warmed up a little bit. So go dry off, change your clothes, and go wash your clothes. Okay? Can you do that? Please go do that. Yeah, you need to go dry off and get warmed up. Someone was playing in the pool. So yeah, alright. On to boat number 2. boat number 2 that you guys just watched. This is the Pro Boat Veracity. It is another 36-inch hull, but this is a V-bottom boat. It's a wide V-bottom boat though, so it has the characteristics of being fairly stable going across the water, and it actually still steers very well too. This is a single prop boat, unlike the Miss Gecko that was a dual prop boat. The steer fins at the back are damn near razor sharp. It's got a nice deep rudder at the back. It is also, I didn't mention it on the Miss Geico, but the Miss Geico and this are both water cooled for the motor and the ESC. I can't remember how the Miss Geico gets the water in. This one gets it in through a port at the bottom of the rudder, pulls it up through with just the pressure from the driving, and feeds the water through the system, and then sends it back out, I believe, these side ports here. Yeah, side ports. But this thing is mildly tamer than the Miss Geico, because it has, I'll pull you guys in and show you. It has a slightly smaller brushless kit in it, and it only has one. Unlike the Miss Geico, like I said, this one only has a single brushless kit in it, and it is a 1650 kV 6-pole. So it is powered a little differently, not extremely differently, but a little differently. And it's Spectrum remote. Someone put in a Traxxas steering servo, which I think could have a better servo in it instead of that. But that being said, it does work just fine. It steers great. Front part of the boat is hollow with like basically a pool noodle shoved in there. This again is another fiberglass hull boat like the Miss Geico. You want me to unlock that for you? Okay. Anyway, yeah. So this, but it does run on dual batteries. I mean, if you did it right, you could run like a single 4S or a single 6S in it. This is another one that they claim on there. It'll run 2 to 6S. I can't imagine how slow 2 or 3S would be in it though. 4S and 6S I think is exactly where it's at with this. This boat, I ran it on 4S on camera because that was the first time I really drove it. And then when I took it back out after I was pretty much done filming for today, up till now, I ran it on 6S, and this thing on 6S is a beast. It floats across the water, it steers very well, and well, don't get me wrong, it is not as fast as the Miss Geico. This thing on 6S, I would say, is still maybe a bit. It's comparable to the Miss Geico on 4S, maybe. At least that's how it feels when you're driving it. Because this thing, for being a V-bottom boat at speed, is oddly stable compared to my other 2 V-bottom boats I've driven. That being said, I have learned this is, out of all my boats, probably my favorite boat to drive. Before today, my slower, basically the slowest boat I have of my bigger boats, besides the 2 little ones my daughter drives, was my favorite one to drive because of the way it handled. This thing handles really well, and it's just got so much power to back it up. So yeah, this is by far probably my favorite one of the group to drive. And I'm not going to lie, mounting the GoPro on it was a scary thought. It took me a minute to go ahead and convince myself that I was okay with it, because I really did not think with the GoPro on it that it would be stable enough to drive at speed. I figured that was where I was pushing my limit, and I was going to make the boat unstable, having that much extra weight up high. But no, this thing is wide enough. It took it very well. It ran very well. I'm extremely happy with this boat. This is definitely one that, if you made me sell all of them tomorrow, this would be the only one I'd probably fight you with that I'd absolutely not want to get rid of, because it is by far the funnest one. Have I told you it's fun? I feel like I've mentioned that a couple times now. Yeah. So this one's definitely going to be getting some attention as far as some maintenance work. I noticed there is a small hairline crack forming in the back of the hull by the rudder, which I might have caused that today and not even realized it. Either way, it can be fixed pretty easy, because it doesn't look like it goes all the way through. It is just like, I think, a superficial crack in the paint. So, yeah. So, this and the Miss Geico are a couple of the only ones I got on trades. I've bought a lot of the boats because I didn't know anyone into boats yet. And once you get a boat, start talking about boats, you find more boat people, and that I found a boat person. And I found another boat person I didn't know was a boat person. Thanks again, Seth. So, yeah. Alright, I'm rambling. Time for the next boat. Let's go see footage of that. I'm just going to throw this out there. I feel like that was probably boring to watch, and I'm sorry for that. But I hadn't got to drive it yet, and I wanted to test it out. I've learned that I need to figure out a better way to mount these, because I broke the one off. This is the rescue boat. It's supposed to have another bar that matches this over here, and a hook around the front so you can push other boats back. And obviously right now it does not have any of that, because I accidentally snapped the other one of these off, which is unfortunate because I could have used it today after I recorded with it. But this is a Pro Boat Alpha Patrol. It is essentially more or less a tugboat. It is the only one you guys get to see me drive today that is a jet boat, and I would say this is not a good example of a jet boat. Normally they have a lot more power behind them. This thing has two small jet boat systems in it that I think are comparable to what comes in the Pro Boat Jam Jet, which is a much smaller boat. Yeah, looking at it, it has two of these jet systems in it. And as you can see, there is a very, very large size difference in these boats. Even with 2 of those in it, it's not fast. Which honestly, neither is this, but it's also a small boat meant for like a big pool or a small pond. Not out there at Riverside Park where we were running today. So, still need to get these on camera too. I didn't even get these on camera today. So maybe we'll go back out tomorrow and run a couple more. But, like I said, I didn't get this for the whole point of driving it, just to drive it. I only drove it today for the camera to, I don't know, show it to you. And I figured the GoPro being mounted on it would give some kind of neat view. The original plan was to go out and rescue a boat with it. And then I broke off the rescue part. So that kind of backfired on me a little bit. But, you know, let's see here. This only runs on 2S, and it takes a relatively small battery. It has an odd amount of removable things that you don't need. This one is, dude had it set up to where you just slide the battery in, and it just kind of floats around here in the hull. There is supposed to be another servo up this way for it to mount to this, so this can turn, and for this to light up, and this also would have a light. Looking at the receiver, I don't quite understand how that's supposed to work. I believe this was wired into the steering originally, but he said the servo burned out and he didn't feel like fixing it, so it just sits there for display. And given what he was using the boat for, he didn't want to kill the batteries using all the lights for no reason. So the guy I got it from unhooked all the lights, which is fine with me because realistically I don't care. I'm in the same boat as him. I want it for a rescue boat. I'm not worried about the lights working. But I would bring you in closer on this one to show you more of it in detail, but there's really not a lot to show you other than it's just a cool looking boat. I believe this originally came with like a sticker pack to make it look like a marine boat or something too. Like military marines or something like that. Or army, maybe, I can't remember. Because again, it's called the Alpha Patrol. It's somewhat of a military theme. But yeah, I'm fairly certain for what I want to use it for, it will be good as soon as I unbreak what I broke. Alright, on to the next boat. Well, I got a little too brave, and yeah, it parked itself. Oops. So that one you just watched, unfortunately there is no water view of that because I 1000% do not feel like this boat is stable enough to put a GoPro on it and it not flip. Which, compared to the rest of them, is a little unfortunate, but is a very narrow V-hull that does not set a lot of the boat in the water. Up until I drove the Veracity today, I would have told you this was my favorite boat to drive. It is, power-wise, the most underwhelming of my bigger boats. This is a Stealth Wake 24. So it's a 24-inch hull. It's single motor. Unlike everything else I've showed you up to this point, well, I guess not. The Alpha Patrol was also brushed. This is the first speedboat, we'll say, that is brushed of the group. Actually, of the things that you've watched me run today, this is the only brushed speedboat of the group, and it only runs on 2S. So it is by far slower than everything else. I would say, I think it was rated for like 20 mile an hour. So it is not a fast boat, but it handles so much better than any of the rest of the boats. As you guys got to see, this thing will literally turn on a dime. It is impressive. The only other thing I have that turns like this does is the little sprint jet that I have for my daughter to play with. It's a little jet boat, and it basically turns on that same dime. And it just impresses me with how well this thing handles, because it makes, like, I show it just like whipping it, but even if you watch, there's other scenes where I make very tight corners, and this thing doesn't really lose any speed. It just planes right back out and keeps going. That being said, I wish it had more power. I really do. I think I'm going to look into a water-cooled brush speed control for it that will run 3S. I think just doing that alone will make me happy with it. I could be wrong. I might look into just going brushless with it as well. I think the same brushless kit that comes in my Blackjack 24, which runs 2 and 3S, would be an absolute riot in this boat. I think it would make this thing obnoxiously quick for what it is. And it's kind of what I think I want out of one of them. I just don't know if I want to modify this one or if I want to get a second, because of the fact that I do like the way this one drives. I do like the way it handles. And this is one I don't feel bad about turning my son loose with and letting him run it, because he likes the way it drives too, and it's not so overpowered that even if you start to run it into a rock at full tilt, it doesn't seem to hurt it, because as you can see here, it's got some bumps and bruises along the bottom. These are from today, that little section of the video where you guys got to see me beach it. It peed on me. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's a good little boat though. I'm going to show you the insides, because this is the only one that has water cooling where the motor is the only thing water cooled. This is also one of the more simpler boats inside, because it just has a very simplistic speed control. I've even thought about just trying to pull this out and throwing in like a Hobby Wing 1080 to replace it, just to see how it would do running on 3S. Because on 2S, this one doesn't feel like it even gets warm. So I think I could get away with a 3S and it'd be fine. I believe this is like a 15-turn motor in it. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look it up online. It's got the cooling tubes that go around it, which honestly I don't think they do a lot. Which it could be the way me and my son drive it. I don't know. But it definitely still produces some heat, which is an issue on these, unlike it was on the cars. Cooling is not that much of an issue, because you've got air movement. Well, in this, you've got high amp draw, because it's direct drive. There is no gearing to like bring things down a little bit, and you're fully encapsulated, so it keeps all the heat in too. And it just, while this thing doesn't get super hot, I could see where it could if you got too crazy with the power. I've seen some videos where some other guys modified it, and he had it where it fed water in through the rudder, and it had like a dual feed system, and It shot water out in 2 spots of the sides. It had a wicked cooling system on it, and I think that would help a lot. But if I don't change this boat, I don't think it's needed. It's fine the way it is stock. So yeah, we're probably going to leave it like this. So, a matter of fact, a lot of these boats, I don't have any kind of want to really modify outside of I'd like to put some better plugs on the Veracity. We'll talk about a couple of the other ones that are up there, because one of them you're not going to get to see drive, and the other one I might try to take them out in the morning, because I got 2 more I'd still like to show you yet. 3 if I can get that thing to cooperate. So yeah, alright, there was the Stealthquake. Again, pro boat. So this company is, for being owned by such a big company, this company seems to be very well managed. Things are very well designed. So, yeah. Alright, and here's the last one you're going to see run to this point in this video. This is actually the first one that I bought. This is the Blackjack 24. It is brushless, 2 and 3S LiPo capable. It's a catamaran style boat. And, well, it looks like I had a crack back here in the hole. It was a good enough boat that it got me hooked on the idea of wanting more, but I would not say it has been my favorite one to drive at any point after I got the Stealthquake. It is quick. It doesn't handle too bad, but the steering is just, like I said, you guys got to see it at this point in the video. Catamarans just don't turn like a V-hull does, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, personally, I feel like for me to be comfortable to turn, I've got to let off to at least half throttle and make my turn, and even then I don't want to turn tight. So it's kind of it's a balancing act on how I feel about it. This was the first one I actually felt comfortable to put the GoPro on. I was very anxious about putting it on the Veracity and the Miss Geico. The Miss Geico, partly because I was afraid I was going to just send that thing airborne at some point, and I didn't want to lose my GoPro along with potentially hurting the boat. So that's why on camera I drove it a little bit more tamely than I did off camera, because of the fact I just didn't, there was risk factors there I didn't like. I am not popular enough here yet that I can waste a GoPro. But this was the one where I went to the hobby shop and I was like, I need to try something new. What do you recommend? And he basically pointed at this and he's like, you got some water by your house, why don't you get a boat? And he pointed at this because this is the one he had. And I was like, that's a good question. Why don't I get a boat? Well, here we are. Now I got boats. I don't know if I should thank him or blame him for that. I'd say thanks, AJ, but I know AJ doesn't watch any of this. So, this was the first one, and this is brushless. This is a 2000 kV kit. It's a full pull kit, a 4-pull kit. Now, me saying this is a 2000 kV versus the Miss Geico being a dual 1900 kVs, that motor that's in the Miss Geico is still a much bigger, much more powerful motor. This is a 2000 kV like 10th scale marine motor versus the Miss Geico and the Veracity have a 1650 and 1900 kVs like 8th scale motors. They are a much bigger motor, so the scaling is different on the kV ratings. This is another water cooled boat. It picks it up through the rudder, goes through the speed control, from the speed control through the motor, and then out right here. Out the speed control, through the motor, out the hull right here. I feel like I am most comfortable, or almost enjoy driving this most on 2S. I think it's because I feel like I can hammer down more and turn better while I'm on throttle. But it is definitely much faster on 3S. So the video you guys watched, I was running it on 3S because I wanted to do some speed passes with it, because that's realistically what it's good at. That's about all there is to say about it. It's a good boat. It's a good starter boat. I'd recommend it. It's not where you're going to want to probably light, though. You're going to figure out that you like other things, I would say. But a lot of people prefer the catamaran style boats, so you might get this and you might really like it and just want to go up to another size. Because I think that this is a 24, and I know they make it in a 42, which is a big old boat. Honestly, bigger than I think I'd want. Yeah. So, and that being said, for this being a starter boat, this is only, now mind you, it does not come with batteries, but it comes ready to run. You just gotta buy a battery and stuff. This boat's only $250. This is a relatively inexpensive boat. That's something I didn't tell you guys in the rest of them, because it's while boat sizes are weird. Here, you know what? Let me put this up and we'll cover that. Cover that right now. Alright, so what I mean by boat sizes are weird. Boats, unlike trucks and cars and monster trucks, well, I'm given, all of them are weirdly scaled, because, I mean, these are 1/10 trucks. That one back there in the corner is 1/5, but that's whatever. This is a 1/10 car, and these are all 1/10 trucks. So it's like, and that's a 1/10 drag car. And look at the size of, that Nova compared to that Toyota Hilux. They wouldn't be the Nova wouldn't be that big comparatively. But boats are not measured in scale like that. They're measured by their hull length, and that's their scale. Like, that's why, like, it's a Stealth Wake 23 and a Blackjack 24, and I think that's called an Alpha Patrol 21, a Miss Geico 36, a Veracity E36. The only brand that didn't seem to do that is Traxxas. Traxxas just has them labeled what they are. This is one you guys haven't got to see run yet. That's a Traxxas Blast. I literally got that today on trade. I powered it up just to make sure it worked, and we're going to try taking it out tomorrow, along with, I believe that's called like the Jamjet 9, or maybe a Sprint Jet 9, like the Jamjet 11 or something like that. The Jamjet might actually not have its number with it. I can't remember. the Aero Trooper 25. That thing you guys were supposed to get to see today, but the servo is being weird, so I didn't get to drive it. We're going to try fixing that off camera here in a little bit, because I'd like to try to take that, the two littles, and the blast out tomorrow and get them on film. If I don't get these two on film tonight out in the pool. But the one you're not going to get to see the run at all is this one right here. I talked to you guys a little bit about it in the Cadillac video. That is a ABC Hobbies CISA 1882. It was basically like some kind of oddball race boat back in the day. It's from the early 90s. It needs some parts and I can't find them. It has a dual motor setup in it, but not like this where it's dual motor direct drive to both. That had dual motors that turned to spur gear, which then turned another gear that turned the prop. So it's done a little differently. And I cannot find that spur gear, so I'm probably going to have to do some work and make that direct drive, I think. I'm playing that by ear currently still at the moment, because I would still really prefer to find that spur gear. And realistically, even if I never get to drive it, I'm perfectly comfortable with that being a shelf queen, because it is such an oddball rare boat that I don't want to tear it up. But yeah. So, and then like I was saying, boats are a relatively cheap spot of the hobby to get into to start with, but they do climb in price exponentially with their hull size. So, like for instance, you can get this little sprint jet guy right here. It's a little guy. It's a tiny little guy. You can get him for, I think it was 90 bucks. Out the door, comes with a battery, ready to go. You can step up to the jam jet that's a little bit bigger, and that was like 109 bucks. Again, battery out the door. And then from there, there's a couple more boats in between, but the next step I have up is the Stealth Wake. The Stealth Wake is a 25-inch hull. That was $200. It did come with a battery, but it's a crap battery, so I wouldn't really count it having one. But again, that was $200 out the door. Good to go. From there, you step up. These two are priced very similar. I'm going to say that now because that is a 24-inch and that is a 25-inch. Even though they're very different boats, they do have some things in common, kind of. They are both brushless. They are both in the same $250 price range. And they do have similar electronics as far as servo goes, remote goes. The big difference is this is only 2 and 3S capable. This is 3 and I was told 4S capable. I have not tried a 4S in it. I'm a little worried to try it. They drive extremely differently from each other. I am going to try to get that servo to work tonight and take that to the park tomorrow and run that. It is very loud. It is fast too, but it is like an unnecessary fast, ill handling thing. And then from there, now I'm only going to talk about the Pro Boat prices. Then we'll talk about those two up there, or at least the Blast, and where it fits in with the scale. Now, this Alpha Patrol 21, also, if I remember correctly, when it was new, fell in the same price point as these two, and that like 250, like 225 to 250 range with these. So it's a 21-inch hull, so it should have been a little bit cheaper, but if I remember right, the prices I seen was $250 originally, and they don't sell this anymore. Then for me, you jump up to these two, and this is where pricing gets not as cheap. This Veracity brand new was $550, if I remember correctly. It was $550 or $600. I believe it was $550. It is not a cheap boat, and that's no batteries included. You got to provide that yourself, but it is RTR. It's got similar electronics as far as remote and servo goes as these have stock, so there's nothing crazy going on there, and that seems to be like a commonplace as far as all these go. Like, the remotes are just, they've got basically the same remote, they've got basically the same servo, they've got basically the same receivers, Your big difference comes in your power plant, like, because this thing, well, it's got a 10 scale brushless kit. I cannot remember the size of it to save my life currently. And it's got like an outboard style motor where the whole case turns. These things have much bigger power plants. Then you get to the Miss Geico. The Miss Geico, from what I've read, was $850 new. It's been discontinued. You can still get the Zelos, which is the same boat with like a little thing on the roof and a different paint job. And it was that same-ish price range. It is not a cheap boat, but you get a lot of boat for that money. Then you get into, that's the pro boat and how the pricing works. Then you get into like Traxxas. This Traxxas Blast comes where it will not run LiPo in its stock. It is a nickel metal battery boat from day one. They've never updated the electronics in it, and the electronics suck. It's the only thing in the entire Traxxas lineup that still comes with the 20-turn Stinger in it from like 1991. This boat has never been upgraded. They just put waterproof electronics of the same old electronics it's had in it forever. Nothing. It's got, I think, a water-cooled sleeve around the motor. That's it. But that being said, this is only $159 new. So it is the cheapest of the Traxxas lineup. Then they also make the Spartan and the M41, which is kind of like the Verocity and the Miss Geico. They're narrower. They're built more like these two, but they're bigger than these two. The Spartan is a 34-inch hull, if I remember correctly. I think I have some footage of me driving my Spartan before I got rid of it, because I traded it towards the Miss Geico. And it didn't handle very well. And while it had a lot of power, my God, keeping it in the water was next to impossible. Like, that thing, the whole way across the water, you were watching the entire hull come out. And only about that much would stay in at a time, and it would the whole boat was out all the time. And I can only imagine the M41's about the same way. The M41's a catamaran versus the Spartan's a V-bottom. They've got the same electronics in them. So they're not bad boats, don't get me wrong. I just think the pro boats are better. Yeah, alright. I'm going to stop yapping, and we will see if we can get some of this other stuff on camera. So you're either going to see me in a minute outside driving in the pool, or you're going to see me driving one of these at the pond tomorrow. Alright, we're out here for day 2, getting some stuff filmed and done. We're going to start with the Sprint jet and the Jam jet, move to the Blast, and then get the big boy out and see how that goes this time. Hopefully she works right. Or I won't be running the Jam jet. It seems as if the speed control receiver combo in it has died. It does not want to work, so I guess I won't be filming that one. That's kind of a bummer. That's my daughter's favorite one to drive. And I forgot the Traxxas here has a different plug on it than everything else. So, no running it either right now. Well, this just got a lot quicker. know we didn't run the Jam Jet, but I'm going to just throw it in talking about them because, well, it really doesn't drive any differently than this. This is the Pro Boat Sprint Jet 9. They even sell it marketed as a pool boat. Pretty much same with the Jam Jet. It's Pro Boat again. They market it as a pool / like small pond boat. And they work really well in a pool. This is actually a lot of fun to drive in a pool where you're just trying to make a bunch of back and forth zigzag turns. This is for a big pool, I would say that. But I would also say I feel like this one's more fun to drive. I'm kind of bummed that one didn't want to work today, because I think this one out of the pair is the more fun one to drive. Even though I don't really find either one of these particularly amazing. But again, I bought these for the kids. I didn't buy these for me. So I don't got a great review on them. But at the same time, like if you're beginning and you got like a small area to play in, these are a lot of fun. You got kids, especially like my 4-year-old daughter. I have zero problems handing her the remote to that and just walking away from it because she's not going to hurt it. Same with letting her run this. She hasn't hurt it yet. I don't know what happened with that. But yeah, these two good little ones. They're both, I want to say this is like right at that $100 mark. This one is under the $100 mark. You can, matter of fact, you can almost buy this one and a second battery for under $100. I don't have them laying out at the moment, but they both take different batteries. This one takes like a little black battery that works really well, and this one takes a slightly bigger battery. But at the end of the day, they're both a lot of fun. But let's talk about the big one. This thing. This is the Pro Boat Aero Trooper. This hits right around that same $250 mark as the Pro Boat Blackjack 24. This is the Aero Trooper 25. So it's a 25-inch hull. And I'm just going to say it how it is. I don't like it. I don't like the way it drives. It is very noisy compared to any of the rest of them. This thing moving at like 25 mile an hour makes more noise than the Miss Geico does at 60. So I want to like it, and it's an airboat, so I could use it in snow and stuff, so maybe it'll be more fun this winter if I hang on to it. But for driving in water, it's terrible. It does not handle well. I felt like, how do I want to word it? I felt like it wants to dive under the water. And I even took the GoPro off and ran without the GoPro on it, thinking maybe the added weight of the GoPro was causing the problem, and it still seemed the same, where just any kind of small off throttle, it's like it's doing one of these numbers, and it looks like it's trying to sink itself. And it just, there's no straight. No matter how you set the remote, no matter what you try to do, there's always a little veer to the left or a veer to the right. And if you do get it to go straight and you think you're doing good, it will just it'll just catch something and it'll just turn itself. It doesn't like to go straight. The handling characteristics of it are so terrible that it makes me not enjoy it. And this was originally what I was looking at buying when I bought the Blackjack. But my buddy AJ over at the hobby shop talked me out of this and talked me into the Blackjack, because he was afraid that with this being so different from a normal boat, that if I would like boats, this would turn me off of them right off the bat, because he knew it was going to handle funny. And he's right. If I would have bought this over the Blackjack, we wouldn't be talking about any of these boats. I would have sold it and like, this is a terrible idea. I never want to own another boat again. Don't get me wrong. it's cool to look at, and it's cool that it's got all the functioning lights, and you know, the decal layout's neat, and you know, I like the scale details where it's got the seat. Me and another buddy was talking. There's supposed to be some guns mounted here and here, and they're kind of oddly placed because who is going to use the guns that are up here on the roof and get sucked into the fan, and then who's using the ones mounted up here where you're sitting directly in front of the driver's view? So neither one of those make any sense to us. But it's cool to look at, and I like the fact that it does have everything just pops out of place on it. Like this whole cage just comes off. 2 bolts this comes off, 4 bolts that comes off, and you've got, you know, full view of all the electronics. The electronics in it seem to be fairly good, although the servo did crap out on me. I'm not necessarily blaming the servo for that. I think it got waterlogged right off the bat. Honestly, is what I think happened to it, and it just didn't recover from it. Because when I took the old servo out to put a new one in, there was probably that much water laying down in the base where the servo sets. So it is it has the potential to be a lot of fun. I just don't think it has the potential to be a lot of fun for me. Which is kind of a bummer to end all this on. But it is what it is. And I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. I don't want to tell you that, oh, this thing's amazing, I love the way. I don't want to lie about it. It does me no good to lie about it. It does you no good to hear me lie about it. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's the ProBoat Aero Trooper 25. Looks cool, not so fun to drive. And with that being said, boys and girls, I thank all you guys for watching yet again. It is super bright out here. There's just no good angle. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. I don't know what we're going to be doing next time. I need to get back to work on the MG. I got some stuff I want to get done on the Cadillac. Cruise night's next weekend, so I don't know. We'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. But until then, guys, enjoy yourselves. See you next time.